What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Wolfcrier here, and welcome to another episode of the AARPG Vodcast. Tonight I am joined by Atric and my twin brother Roldimitsu, and we're going to be talking a lot about Path of Exile's 3.13 expansion announcement. Lots of stuff coming our way as far as the upcoming Path of Exile League. It is crazy the amount of stuff that is in this upcoming expansion. So we're going to dive right into it and start off talking about the Echoes of the Atlas expansion details, which furthers the whole Atlas endgame content. Let's go ahead and start with Atric. I want to hear what you think about this, the Echoes of the Atlas and the monsters and all of that type of stuff. What are your thoughts on it?
This is an Atlas update that I actually think I'm going to like a lot, which is saying something because in general, I'm not a fan of the Atlas. I'd rather be able to spend as much time as I can doing incursion or delve or, heist, things along that line. I just have to do the Atlas as much as possible to get through it. But things like the passives that you can get and place points in on different regions of the Atlas map to be able to focus on things like more delve sulfite, more things for harvest, all of those kind of past league mechanics is going to, I think, make it so that I can sort of focus farm specific areas to get back to the things that I actually want to do much quicker. So I'm really psyched about that change to the Atlas. I'm also kind of interested in just seeing, when I play a game like this, I'm usually doing something that is off meta or finding some weird, stupid shit that shouldn't work and nobody should ever do, and just seeing what I can do with it. The sort of arena fight type thing with the bosses that you have the Maven watch you fight, I'm really thinking of maybe try to collect 10 super hard bosses and see what a fight with the 10 worst bosses you can think of in one arena at one time would be like.
It'd probably be I'm going to say it's going to be crying heavily.
Yeah.
That's
but it's something that has to be done, and when it's done, a video has to be made about it. It's hey, these are the 10 worst bosses on the Atlas all at once. Someone has to do it. It's going to be amazing.
I'm sure somebody out there is going to do it.
Yeah. I also really like the fact that there are craftable, tradable watchstones. So, technically, if someone doesn't want to do the chasing for the Conquerors, they don't have to do it past the first time in each area. And they can, if they make a ton of money, because I guarantee those things are going to be expensive as all get out, they could just stack crafted watchstones in all of their areas and just be done with it with all their watchstones. So, that's a possibility, but like I say, that's going to be something that's going to require a lot of currency for someone to be able to do it.
I would think so
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I'm really kind of psyched about this Atlas change because it seems like something that's going to let me have a little more control over what the Atlas is giving me and give me more time doing the league mechanics from the past that I really enjoyed doing. And of course, there's a new orb that is going to let you improve influence affixes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit harder to come by, and
I can't wait to see what the price of that in the market's going to end up being.
Because that's definitely going to be something that's crazy. We don't quite know yet. At least I personally don't know. I tried to get some answers looking through some streams and stuff, whether or not that's going to allow you to affect double influenced mobs, and I think it's going to allow you to affect double influence, but whether or not it's going to allow you to use an Awakener orb and take that new upper tier affix that you created and put it onto another influenced item. I'm not sure how
Hmm.
that's going to play out in that high level crafting situation. I don't know if those are going to be affected by awakener orbs or anything like that. So we're gonna definitely have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm sure we'll have more information. I'll look around for it, but I tried finding the information and haven't been able to find it yet definitively anyways. I've heard rumors this way and that way, so I don't know which is the most accurate statement out there. So what this does, this upcoming expansion, the Echoes of the Atlas, it creates a new segment where a new boss, if you will, Maven, who shows up occasionally in maps and watches you fight the boss. Not only watches you fight the boss, but makes that boss encounter much more difficult. And then once you have a few of those, I believe it's three under your
Yeah, three to
belt,
start.
you can go to her area and fight all three of those bosses together. And then she keeps trying to get you to do more 4, 5, 6, 10 bosses at the same time. And the rewards get greater and greater, I'm assuming. And also, she's the boss that you can fight after you fight 10 bosses at the same time. And she's a completely insane fight from the sounds of it, according to Chris Wilson and the way he was talking about the upper echelon of players are going to have difficulty beating her. And she can drop that orb that allows you to upgrade a influence in exchange for removing an influence. So it has to be a double item with two influences on it, influenced affixes.
And that
And
is a gamble because it's randomly going
it
to remove
is.
one to buff the other one. But
Mhm.
still, like a high tier influence, if you get two decent influence modifiers on something, like popping one to a high tier, even if it's not the one you wanted, still makes something that you can probably turn around and sell for a healthy chunk.
I
Yeah.
think that the gamble aspect is my favorite part of it, actually, because,
Hmm.
it's still that Path of Exile RNG that comes into play. But if you hit that, what you're going for, it's going to be like exceptional for your build and possibly lead to some great crafts out there. And that whole aspect of it with the Maven's Orb, that's pretty awesome. I think that the craftable watchstones that drop from those encounters are also really cool. Those affixes that are on those, they're treated as if they're similar to flasks. They can only be normal or blue items. So, but you can craft on them by spamming them with alterations, changing the craft. They would stack if you got multiple of the same type of modifiers on it. They would stack, and you could throw them all into one area. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out with the base Atlas endgame system, whether or not you're actually going to have to complete, everything to get all your watchstones, which I think initially that's going to be what you're going to have to work towards. Like, even if they do become more abundant later on, that's not going to be something that's out there right away because that comes with higher tier content. So it's not like you're going to be getting that stuff before you get to maps or during white tier maps, I don't believe. And the higher the content you do, the more chance you have to get these. I believe that's the way it works. And that's going to be interesting because it opens up, like you said, the ability to skip some of that watchstone farming if you're able to purchase these early enough in your own progression, or say you're way behind everybody and everybody's already, way ahead, but now they're selling the extras. It's a good way to catch up in your map tiers if you've fallen behind a bit later on in the league. when those prices start dropping and they start coming into the economy a little bit more. So that part is pretty awesome, I have to say as well. I like the whole system with the passive trees because, Path of Exile definitely needed more passive trees. That's sarcastic, but at the same time, they are pretty interesting that you can delegate points to different sections on your map in order to influence certain things. And then you can decide that's where I want to farm. I want to farm these maps so that I can go after Legion, or I can go after Sulfite and Nico so that I can delve, or I can go after Breach, Tormented Souls, and Incursion, everything, Harvest. All that stuff's going to be easier to do depending where you farm and how you spend your points for your passive trees on the Atlas. It does create a situation for me where quite possibly there's too much going on with the Atlas in this sense. And I love the whole Atlas system, but now you've got Watchstones, now you've got Master Missions, now you've got the passive trees for each individual area that you're going to farm up points to spend in. And it's a lot going on. I mean, Path of Exile is known for always having a lot going on, though. But it just seems like it could be overwhelming to new players. But at the same time, I think it also helps them out with those craftable watchstones and stuff like that. And if you're a player who, I really want to delve, the best way to do that is, like you said, to upgrade those areas that have delve modifiers within that passive tree, and then you can delve more often. I think this is the best way currently for them to offer up that type of situation where you get to do what you want to do in this game more often. So I think that's the best part is the trees, even though it does add a lot more stuff to the Atlas. But it's going to be pretty awesome to see how it all flows together while you're also worrying about Sirius and all of his conquerors as well.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I mean, I think it does add some complexity to the Atlas, which is something that it desperately needed, of course. But at the same time, like for a lot of people, even though this seems more complex, like for me, it's going to simplify the crap out of the Atlas. Because going into this, just the way I like to play the game, I know going in by the fact that they've already got like Lex Proxima up and you can see what the passes are for this. Okay, I'm basically going to max out Lex Proxima as fast as I can and just try to get the passive points for that and just farm the crap out of Lex Proxima. Everything else in the map, don't really care about. Just focus on that region. Because with Lex Proxima, I'll be able to get Delve, I'll be able to get Harvest, I'll be able to get Breach Stones for if I need like XP really badly to level. So like Lex Proxima seems to be set up as like a dream for an SSF character because you can focus farm Delve to try and target farm like the cold item areas or the fire item areas to get items more specific with modifiers you need. And then you can focus farm Harvest to try and get crafts that you want to put on those delve items that you grabbed. So I see a lot of potential with this system that just gives people the ability to not do so much of what personally seems like just this tedium with the Atlas of just having to go there just to do it in order to progress the things that I actually want to do. And I think there's a significant amount of players that feel that way. And I do think that this passive system for the tree will help cut some of that out because they'll be able to focus more where they want to go.
Vulda, you're awful quiet. What are your thoughts so far on
Oh, I
what
forgot I
we've
was in the video for a minute. Sorry. No, I'm really looking forward to the new expansion. I think it's great what they're doing. The new Atlas system looks really cool. The new end game boss looks very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how many of my friends will be making it that far and beating her, because that's going to be some rough gaming there if you got to beat 10 bosses just to get to that boss. I mean, it's
Yeah,
going
it
to
will
be
be.
pretty tough. Uh, I also can't wait to see the full list, unless they're already out and I missed it, but the full list of all the Ascendancy changes.
I
Uh,
did not see them. I didn't see them anywhere.
I know that I saw the Hierophants, like they showed a little bit of that,
Yep.
which they didn't break down in the video, but they do have that up on their page. So I can't wait for the full patch notes to go over everything. But looking very forward to the new Atlas system. I think it's a great way to target farm, like Atrix said, to seek out what you want to play in the game versus having to play stuff that, I mean, you're still going to have to still play the Atlas, but now you can target farm to get your Delve juice to run Delve more often. You're going to be able to target farm. Oh, I like breaches. I like, and some of the newer stuff or the stuff that's coming from old seasons back and being able to target farm that stuff. I think it's going to be very cool. I think this is one of the better expansions that they've had. Well, it's obviously best one since they added the Conquerors of the Atlas, in my opinion. But looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like something that there's a lot of stuff to do in Path of Exile. There's
Yes,
been a lot of stuff to do in Path of Exile for
almost an
quite
overwhelming.
some time. Yeah, it can be very overwhelming, especially to newer players. But to those people that have been playing and really enjoyed, one thing or the other, uh, previous league mechanics and stuff like that, I think, yeah, this gives you the best option to be able to, okay, I need sulfite. I'm out of master missions, but thankfully I went into Lex Proxima and made it where killing the bosses there gives me, 2 to 500 sulfite, whether or not Nico's on the map or whatever, giving me a chance to still accumulate sulfite to go into the delve and be able to complete that content. Or I personally really love Legion encounters, and being able to buff up my legions, that's pretty cool too. And I think it'll work very well with scarabs and prophecies and sextants and all of that, and everything will mesh very well together if you can get everything, situated for yourself in all of those things combined. It'll just supercharge your maps for what you want to do. And I think that's the
Hmm.
best part of this whole thing. There is stuff that's coming back, uh, that they're bringing back is also very exciting. But the best part is just being able to do what you want to do, which is what the players have been asking for a while. There are those, it's why we got that whole test thing for the Delve, that whole Delve League, is because Delve is something that a lot of players really love to do. And it's harder for, less efficient players, let's say, to stay in the delve as much as they want to, and I think this really helps that. I know we talk about delve a lot, but I personally love delve. I know Atric loves delve, but it's hard to stay in delve unless you're making enough currency to, be able to really sustain yourself with sulfite scarabs and stuff like that, which usually I don't have a problem, but if I can make it that much faster to get back into the delve, that's going to be something exciting. But I'll be looking forward to pretty much all different areas. I love delirium. Delirium being able to, buff up your deliriums or throw beyond on maps. I don't know if delirium's going to be part of the whole Atlas passive
I
tree somewhere.
absolutely think it will,
It has to
because
be somewhere.
I'm looking at the graphic, and it doesn't look like any of them are duplicated.
Yeah, I think each region has its own three things that it deals with. Like Lex Proxima, I know hits on Harvest, Breach, and Delve, along with something that I think is like for this new thing, where monsters are possessed and their minions are touched. Don't know what that is so much.
Oh, that's
Tormented spirits. In
Oh,
order
yeah.
for
so
tormented spirits to buff uh, monsters like rares and stuff, it has to actually touch them, and then it has to go into the rare monster.
gotcha.
So if they're already pre-touched, you know those modifiers that you get sometimes where uh, tormented souls or mobs affected by tormented souls can drop an additional sulfite scarab,
Yeah,
additional scarab, or those type of modifiers. There'll be more of a chance for that to actually happen because a lot of the times in endgame you're just wrecking stuff as you go, and sometimes most of the time the spirits don't have a chance to actually embody something.
yeah. So the way it looks is like based on the Glenatch Cairn and the Lex Proxima that they have up on PoE right now on their website. Each region is looking like it's going to have three major things that it goes to. So that's like Delve, Harvest, and Breach for Lex Proxima, and then one like minor that they're okay, something little stone in there, which is the Tormented Spirits. And then Glenatch Cairns has a lot of things that you can do to buff Legion, Incursion, and Beyond, it looks like,
Yeah.
with a couple of small things in there for Strongbox. So it looks like each of them's going to have like maybe three major things that they're working on in one thing that's not as big of a like major league mechanic that's added. And if they do each one that way, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what people come up with as like their optimal like target farms through the passives, and then how people combine the passives with the crafted watchstones to get extra bonuses, and then you add on the sextants,
Yep.
and there's still the ability to purchase the different league mechanics in the map. So like if I'm in Lex Proxima trying to get Sulfite, and let's say maybe Delve is one of them, I can access Delve there, and then one of the uh, modifiers that I can actually get for Delve is Rich Veins. So Voltaxic Sulfite veins and chests in area are always going to contain 20% more, but then they also have a 10% chance to give me double the sulfite, and I can pay to guarantee that there's sulfite in there. And then there's another one where you buff your damage and movement speed for each one of the sulfite things in a map that you open or that you access. So you can actually get more powerful by having delve maps. Like it's going to be crazy, but I think it's going to be really interesting and a lot of fun to see what people come up with to do on this new Atlas system.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the other areas are going to be like too.
Yeah,
And the other nodes, but they're not showing all the nodes here. They're not showing some of the smaller nodes, which obviously are not going to be huge things, but I imagine they're going to do something to the map. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like everything has something, even if it's, just a small little push towards more sulfite if you're farming the sulfite, etc.
yeah. And the
And
real
then there's
question,
also the 11 new maps with new boss fights for each one. That's going to be crazy, and that's going to add to the echoes of the Atlas boss fights, where now you've got 11 new bosses that you need to learn the mechanics of that are also possibly going to be part of that Maven fight. So it's going to be really cool to see the new maps, the new the look of the new maps is pretty
Oh,
awesome. I mean, that's got a lot to do with, I think, the fact that PoE 2 is right around the corner, and the same people that are working on those new maps are also the same people that are working on Path of Exile 2. And, it's just really starting to come together and look really nice. I got to say that Path
Yeah,
of
those new
Exile,
maps do look good.
yeah, they do. Path of Exile, when I first started playing, you know, it was
it
fun to
looked nothing
play,
like it does
but
even now.
yeah, it doesn't look anything like what it currently looks like, and it seems that with each league, they are progressing further and further with all of the new monsters, the way everything looks, and it just is really starting to come together. And it's crazy to think with a game this old that it's just constantly improving and getting to the point where, it's going to release an expansion within the same game. So it just seems to keep getting better and better. And I think this is a step in the right direction with that, for sure. Um, Voldy Mitsu, you want to take us through what's going on with recent returning leagues? What are your thoughts on Heist and Harvest coming back?
Well, I'm glad Heist is going core, and I like how they're going to work it so that there's obviously more rogue markers dropping at a time. I mean, you're going to have to do that because it's not the core league mechanic anymore. So when you do find it, you're going to need more rogue markers to get into your contracts and your blueprints. And I like what they're doing with the actual quest contracts to where it's going to get them and progress along your story. And the increased XP for your rogues. I think that's great. I loved the Heist League once they worked the bugs out in the beginning. It became a very, very cool addition to the game. The other one, the Harvest returning, I am glad to see Harvest returning. Actually been looking forward to Harvest making a comeback, and I enjoyed Harvest during its first run, despite it not being as well received by a decent number of people in the community. I actually did enjoy it. I enjoyed the Farmville aspect of it, the slowed down version. Taking your time, building your farm, doing all that. Unfortunately, that aspect is not actually returning, and they're bringing it so that you just go through a portal to a pre-made farm, and you fight monsters, get crafting as a reward, which the crafting seems pretty cool. It's probably not as overpowered as the crafting was the first time around, but I'm that's probably the least of my least favorite portion of this patch coming in, because I was looking forward to when Harvest returns to getting that slowed down gameplay back to where you can, play Farmville for a little bit. And I know that's not what most people look for when they're playing RPG, but I did enjoy it. I don't know. What about you?
Atric?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Boldy on this one. I'm glad that Harvest is hitting the main game, but I'm not really thrilled with the changes that were made to it because, I agree the whole taking the time to try and set up your most efficient farm was kind of fun at the beginning. But my biggest thing is I loved Harvest for the simple fact that I could really, really minimize the ungodly amount of RNG and crafting in the game using Harvest. I mean, yes, it was OP because people were able to just craft their gear instead of having to, farms the really good stuff so much or waste time trying to get it through trade, which I saw as a positive because, like, okay, instead of me sitting here and whispering 40, 50 people to try and get one response. I can just go here and play this little, Farmville sim and kill a bunch of monsters in it and then craft the things that I want to craft onto a base item that I can get really easily. I liked that aspect of Harvest. I really wish they would have just put Harvest into the game and have, they could have added something to the passive tree for the Atlas where you get more frequent, seed drops or something so that you could still choose sort of the modifiers that you're getting to grow. But, I understand that the game really caters to like the top 10% of players that really just want to go in and blow shit up. But I'd really like for there to be like just one slower mechanic, just one that's slower but gives you more control over like what you're building. And that's coming from someone who's like synthesis was one of my favorite mechanics. I know synthesis was pretty much loathed by most people, but I mean, you saw some of the maps that I built out in that thing and got massive loot. But that's just kind of my personality where I would rather take a lot of time building something up to get something ridiculous at the end and be more certain that I'm going to get the thing that I want instead of spending, hours running the same map over and over and over in hopes of getting like a doctor card or two. That's just where I am. It feels like I'm progressing more when I'm able to make those like mild increments towards the thing that I want instead of just that wheels are spinning in the mud until finally I hit something solid and get to move. And I felt like Harvest kind of did that for me. So I'm not really thrilled with the changes that were made to it. I think it's still going to be strong. So I'm still going to end up buffing it, and I'm still going to end up using the crap out of it. It's just going to be a little bit more RNG than it used to be, but it's still going to be way less RNG than, using currency to craft with.
I think so too. And personally, I was not a huge fan. I know this is where I differ a little bit. I wasn't a fan of that for the most part. I mean, it got tedious. It was tedious in the beginning to set up, and then later on, it got even more tedious when you were trying to find places for storage until they, fixed the storage problem where you could actually, have storage tanks that held enough. But it was tedious in too many areas for me with that whole aspect. I like the new system. I think it's going to be much better than you're thinking, hopefully, because it does look like you walk in and you have the opportunity to have a whole thing already set up. So it's not like you're farming seeds on top of it. It's you walk in and boom, here's your choices. Do you want this pile or this pile? And then with the Atlas passives, you can say, give me a chance for this not to disappear after I do this one. So that's a cool passive to have. Maybe you could get both, which can happen. Plus, the more choices that are in the map, it seems like, with you being able to save up to 10 recipes on your quarter crafting station in your hideout, you're going to have the opportunity to get what you want. I think it's going to be very similar to how it was already because you're not farming up the seeds. You can't put, all the same kind of modifiers on it that you could before, but you're walking into a pre-built harvest that already has full gardens in it, so that maybe you'd have just the same amount of chance of getting that type of stuff. So I think it's going to balance out in being very similar to the outcomes as far as what you're looking for. Don't know if it's going to be as powerful as it used to be with those crafts, but I'm thinking that you would still be able to remove fire, add cold, or something like that, or, remove physical, add physical. And I think you're still going to have the option to increase your ability to craft items for yourself. I think it's still going to be beneficial for SSF players. I think it's still going to be something that will help you possibly take an item that you've made and push it up a few tiers as far as quality, quality of the affixes and stuff like that. I think it's going to still be a beneficial thing to have in the game. I do understand the whole wanting something to slow things down. Uh, and I really thought that's what they were going to do with Harvest, was still bring in that whole Farmville thing. I'm personally happy that they're not doing that. But I did initially think that part was going to stay, where you still managed your whole farm. I think that aspect was different, and I don't know. I like it how it is currently coming back. Heist, I really enjoyed when I was playing the Heist League. It was definitely one of the better leagues that have come out lately, but I've liked a lot of the recent leagues. I've loved Delirium, Metamorph, Legion, Incursion. So Heist, I just worry about the whole economy factor when it comes to Heist. Heist destroyed the economy as far as, exalts were going for what? 18 chaos at one point. It was crazy. But then again, I mean, then you were just dealing with chaos as the new currency, so
Yeah.
the more chaos you have, the better. But I don't know if those type of trinkets are going to be in this version. We don't know
Well,
yet.
we'll have to see if the fix that they put in there to try and prevent that from happening is going to work.
What fix was that?
One of the so what was really jacking up the economy so bad was people would get these really top tier heists, reveal all of the rooms like they were getting the really top tier like currency heist, revealing the rooms and then duplicating them.
Yeah, that's not.
And the duplicated copy, everything was still revealed. They're still going to be able to duplicate them, but it removes all the reveals when they do it. So then they still have to pay to get the reveals undone. So that's what was happening. One of the big factors that caused the economy to just go belly up in Heist League is that people running those maps were doing that, and it was causing them to get ridiculous amounts of currency, so that the currency market just tanked. But they're doing that to try and make it so that doesn't happen. We'll see whether or not that works, but I think it could, just because getting the reveals for your blueprints wasn't exactly a rapid thing. So if they have to get reveals even for their copies, it's going to drastically slow down how quickly they get that kind of currency.
Yeah, I think that could help out a lot.
Now you're
But
still
I
going to
think
have
you'd
like
still-
crazy items.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things I really loved about Heist, is that it didn't, it gave you the implicit jewels, and it gave you
The
all sorts
experimental
of
bases.
Frenzy
experimental-
charge rings.
The gems, my God, if the gems stay, that is awesome. Because I was running the Divergent Kinetic Bolt, and, that was my favorite build in a couple of leagues, where I really enjoyed that. And now they're buffing Kinetic Bolt, so we'll have to see how that works. And it's something that I'd look into again, even though I normally don't run the same build 2 leagues in a row exactly. But, with the exception of Soul Rest, when I was running those a few leagues, the Soul Rest Phantasm builds. But other than that, I try to mix things up as of late. But it'll be interesting to see how all of that's going to play out with the changes that are coming, plus all of Heist still in it, plus Harvest. I mean, it just seems like so much going on, so much put into the player's hands when it comes to that stuff, as far as, yeah, you're still going to have the RNG, but now you've got all that RNG plus harvest crafting. I really think that overall everything's going to mesh well together and be beneficial for the players. I think having that higher level content with Maven is going to help those higher level players feel challenged, which is good, but at the same time opening up new avenues for people who don't always get the chance to farm up 2 or 3 mirrors a league. I think you're going to be able to have lots of stuff going on as far as that goes, and a lot of balancing out the game and allowing a lot of player choice with being able to do what you want to do. Anybody have anything to add on the Heist Harvest editions?
I just really hope that they bring back like the original like door opening rips from Heist. Like I felt like that was a key part of the entire league.
No. It was a key part in the beginning of just opening
As it
the door
shut
and
everybody down.
just getting destroyed. And that's why I never play hardcore, because if you play hardcore, in my opinion, the best time to start hardcore is halfway
2
through
weeks
the league
later.
when they fix all the, oh yeah, this guy does 5 times the damage he was supposed to do. Whoops. Or, oh, we decided to add a display on the ground when this is being cast instead of just straight up one-shotting you. So that portion I don't want back.
Now, I am looking forward to finding out a little bit more about the lore behind Maven and the future Atlas people to come.
Right. Because they did say that she is the first.
Yeah, the
of
first.
the visitors.
And apparently the reason she's here is because she's noticed that the elder went missing. So she's like apparently from maybe the same dimension or whatever that the elder was from. So there is that interesting lore that they're tying in. So it'll be interesting to see how the lore for the Atlas ends up developing.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be pretty cool to see. I mean, they say they've got 4 big expansions coming this year, and this is just the first. So they're hard at work on a lot of stuff, plus PoE too. I do expect sometime this year, maybe to get a full-on gem socket update and that portion of PoE 2 coming to the game. We'll have to wait and see how that goes, etc. But it looks like it's going to be another big year for PoE, starting off with this one that starts on January 15th. Now, let's wrap things up by talking about Ritual, the actual league mechanic, which
Side note for
the side note, a brand new league mechanic coming to the game. Voldy?
I think it looks pretty interesting, especially how the reward system works. I think that can, depending on how that goes, that's going to affect the economy very much as well.
It definitely could.
Especially because, I mean, you never know what's going to appear in that tribute box. I mean, there could be a headhunter sitting in there one time, or it could be a mirror, exactly. So that alone would allow people that might not ever see such items the chance to find something like that. And as long as you're able to beat the waves of monsters, it's going to be a very interesting mechanic. I'm looking forward to actually playing it and seeing how it works.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm looking forward to, especially since the the altar itself that you click is also performing different spells while you're trying to fight the monsters. And then you can
Right.
make the monsters even harder and harder. And then you can start adding more and more monsters with the whatever they're called, relics or ritual vessels
Yes.
that
Yeah, the things that you collect from one that you finish when it's like, hey, this was a good one. I'll like store this one and put it in another one.
yeah, and lets you
Yeah.
just add more monsters to your maps that have these ritual league mechanics in them,
Yeah.
and
And
it's
then if you juice up the map itself, there's a higher chance that map mobs will be in the ritual area, which
yep.
also boosts the tribute that you get from the ritual. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of potential to really customize the ritual encounters, I think, which is going to be neat.
And there's
And I'm with
also going to
Baldy.
be
I'm really looking forward to the like way you get rewards.
me too. I'm looking forward to the fact that okay, here's a bunch of stuff. Now you get to choose and maybe buy something or put it on layaway. If you can't straight up afford it, you can defer it till later, pay 20% of the cost, and it'll show up later at at a reduced cost, and you can keep doing that until you can afford it. So if
Yeah.
a mirror
That's
shows
neat.
up and you can't afford it, then just defer it till later and you're able to save up for it. So, it's like Walmart in PoE that could give you some really great stuff. And what I was about to say though was just the
Walmart
loot
have
factor. The loot factor. The different item bases. You've got new item bases that are coming back with heist, to the best of my knowledge. All those item bases are going to be around. You've got new item bases added to the ritual. You've got 10 new unique items added with the whole Echoes of the Atlas portion of the game. You've got
13 new.
the gems, the different types of gems that can drop in heist. It's just like there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. It just seems like an overwhelming amount of different avenues that you can take with your builds because of all these new things that open up new scenarios for you and harvest crafting and being able to augment your map and stuff like that to get what you need to further progress your build and your desires in the game. It's just going to be fantastic, I think. I do always worry about Path of Exile finally putting in too much stuff, but then they throw something like this at us and it's way too much stuff. And you know what? I don't care because I want to jump into this like now. I want to jump in. I want to play. I want to see what's going on with different things. I want to return to, being able to harvest craft. I want to return to the heist. I want to play Delve. I want to do incursions. I want to check out these Maven boss fights. I want to be able to, run rituals. It's just an overload of stuff, but at the same time, I look forward to it all. It's like
Yeah.
every new league in Path of Exile adds something new, and I'm like, oh, it's finally going to get to the point where it's too much. And right now, it's not there yet. And they're adding a ton of stuff this time around, and it's still not there. It's still not enough to make me go, you know what? This is boring because there's too much to do. I'm just
Yeah.
not there. Not there.
And I think it also having this much to do, while it can get really overwhelming if you just look at it that way, if you can do something like give yourself a goal of this is what I'm going to shoot for, and you see all these different ways that you could get there. It's like, okay, which starting point do I get first? And then start gearing that way because there's so many different ways to get to the same endpoint right now.
Yep.
And so for me, like the dream, if I decide to do a frost blader this time, I'll definitely want to jack up frenzy charges like it's nobody's business. So spam those heist jewelry ones until I get just one of the frenzy charge rings, like we did in Heist League. Then I can sit there and I can harvest craft to get the perfect modifier on it. Then I can do the ritual and hope to get a mirror and then mirror that thing and be like, we're living the dream.
Living the dream. I got a mirror from the ritual. That will be the dream.
That's the only way I'd ever see one. So
hey, I've seen two. I've seen two mirrors. So
yeah, one of those was seriously beginner's luck on someone else's part.
Hey, it got split 3 ways. That's all that matters. We're splitting that, right? We're splitting that, right?
How many thousands of hours do some people have in the game and haven't seen it? He just sees it one in like the first week. Like, come on.
I've had in my possession 2 mirrors so far, and I'm not somebody who plays that at that high of a level, where I'm able to farm that quickly. Although I have found that when I put my mind to a goal, 2 leagues in a row, I have been able to purchase a headhunter. Usually 3 days after I get my headhunter, that's when I stop playing PoE, but that's because I reached my goal. But that one league, I was able to save up 107 exalts. And for somebody who is super inefficient when it comes to mapping, very inefficient when it comes to, conserving currency, I blow through chaos on maps. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who's dropping 50 chaos trying to get a map to 95% or 98%, and then corrupting the map and it going to 70. I'm that type of player where I use chaos and currency so much while I'm playing. And, I'm like I said, I'm super inefficient. If I'm running a drop tab, it's even worse. I mean, even more inefficient if I have a drop tab, because then I hate going through the drop tab and selling stuff. So it's like, wow, I should have just put this stuff where it goes when I found it, because now I'm going to spend a half an hour looking at this going, I don't feel like doing this, but then I'm still able to farm up when I put my mind to it. And I think that I'd love to be able to do a video for currency and stuff like that, just on that portion. Anything's possible if you set a goal and then you realize how you want to achieve that goal, because currency farming in this game, it's wicked easy. Pick something. That's how easy it is. Pick how you want to farm currency, and then figure out the most optimal way to do that. And then even if you're taking 5-minute breaks in between each run of whatever you're doing, you're still going to be able to make currency if you know how to do it.
Right.
And there's tons of videos out there for people to find out information like that. And the best way is probably not be me and spam all of your currency on stupid stuff like, gear that you're never going to use anyways. But I do luck out a lot with crafting as well. I think that's how I get a lot of my currency is crafting. And then the more currency I get, you need to use that currency, etc. But I think overall, ritual, harvest, heist, all this new content coming this way, it's going to be crazy awesome. And I can't wait till January 15th, right after I watch, WandaVision. But after that, I'll be playing Path of Exile for sure. And that's a Friday, right?
Yeah,
it's next Friday.
Good. I'm off. So as soon as the kids are done with school, we'll watch WandaVision, and then I'm boom on Path of Exile. I'm
not off, but I won't be working.
Alrighty.
Hopefully no one from Eric's Atrix job is watching streams.
Yeah.
I'll have a training video going on in the background, muted, just to show that I'm still active.
Nice. Nice. But it'll be good times. It almost makes me want to make a support type character this time around, just to help people and myself
I
get
always think about that, and then I don't.
get some stuff going in it. Yeah, I mean everybody creates a support character. We can all help it level, um, and then do that type of grouping. But I don't know.
Well,
We'll
aura
see.
stacking is really strong, so
I think aura stacking is probably going to get nerfed this time around. They tried, they failed. They will try again. Aura stacking will get nerfed again. I see no way around it.
yeah. But I think the thing is, if they nerf aura stacking too much, it makes aura bots for group purposes less
Useful?
useful. So I kind of feel like aura bots, because that's a necessity really in group play. You got to have like the aura bot and the curse bot really, uh, or those are two of the big things that people use. I think because of that, aura stacking's pretty much always going to have a strong spot in the meta.
It
It might not
is.
be top, but it's always going to be a very viable build.
Unless they nerf the cluster jewels. That's where the nerf has to happen. It has to happen on the cluster jewels themselves. They
Yeah,
know that. We know that. Everybody in existence knows that. You know,
but nobody wants them to do anything with the cluster jewels because everybody loves them.
everybody loves them. I've never played it. I've seen it in action firsthand, and it does look like fun. Most of the time, you can choose multiple different skills and make it work. I personally prefer taking my own build, looking around, see what other people are doing with similar builds, and then trying to see what I can do to make it work. Whether that's cast on crit, volatile dead, straight up kinetic bolt, no spell slinger, which is what I ran last time. Blazing Salvo Totems was very underappreciated, but
Blazing Salvo was so strong.
very strong versus bosses. Blazing Salvo Totems was crazy versus bosses, and I didn't even have my gear set up for it because I was too busy with my kinetic bolt build. But whenever that guy, who was amazing at map clearing, whenever he got to a boss, I just switched over to my Blazing Salvo Totems and was wrecking Sirius 8. Not, not one of those big 200 billion DPS builds, but it was substantial enough to be able to, kill any boss I wanted to relatively quickly. For me, Conquerors were nothing versus it. Even Drox was somebody who dropped like a rock when it came to Blazing Salvo Totems. I think Blazing Salvo was very underestimated and overlooked. Unfortunately, some of the other skills were very underwhelming, but Blazing Salvo needs a slight tweak, and then it's up there with the rest of them. And I think that type of stuff is, something that might come around this time around. I know there's a lot of buffs coming. I'm sure there's a lot of nerfs coming. We will be getting together to discuss the patch notes sometime this week. That's a goal, as well as bringing you guys our thoughts on the league once it starts, and then probably revisiting after a couple of weeks to let everybody know what we think of how things are going and stuff like that. Does anybody else have anything to add, Boldy or Atric, before we say goodnight to all these fine ladies and gentlemen?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think we pretty much covered the echoes of the Atlas and the new league ritual. Uh, yeah, looking forward to it. Looking very forward to it.
Yep, I agree. I don't think we can really add too much else until we see the patch notes to be able to go over like the ascendancy changes. I do know that Chris Wilson mentioned that they really wanted to shake up the meta for this. And I think with all of the stuff going on, with the ascendancy changes, the new skills that they're adding, skill reworks that they're doing, I definitely think that they're going to shake up the meta fairly well. And it'll be fun to see what comes out, given that, the meta isn't really established yet and there's new bosses. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to like the first person that does 10 of the new bosses
Yeah,
in Maven's Arena.
Yeah, I
it'll
want to
be
watch
pretty
that.
interesting. But, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for chilling with us tonight as we discuss Path of Exile's upcoming 3.13 expansion. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you are interested in Path of Exile and other action role-playing games. We do a lot of discussions regarding them and video games as a whole. And hit that like button if you like this video. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comment below whether or not you're looking forward to this upcoming league in Path of Exile or what you think you would like to see in future expansions. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much, and you all have a fantastic day. Peace.